Hi, how to break a porn addiction. Today I give you a tip on what you can do to chase away the craving whenever it comes, the urge to watch porn. And the tip is from the Lavario program, and I read it out for you, at least a shorter version. And it's called Stop Your Movie Director. Now, are you aware that as a sex addict or a porn addict, you have a unique talent? This talent is your imagination, the capability to fantasize things that you experience as if they were real. Your picture starship flies much more realistically than that of other people, and it also flies faster. For the time being, it is important to realize that your inner movie director starts much more often and much faster than in other people, and cast the next porn movie with you as a main actor. A TV commercial with a naked leg, the woman with the beautiful hands at the checkout in the supermarket, the feeling of loneliness or emptiness at home in the evening, and there you go. Here, exactly at this point, you need to react and intervene. These triggers normally wake up the movie director in you. The triggers like the checkout woman or the naked leg in the commercial, or the computer in front of you, whatever. Because then the movie begins, the movie in your head with full energy, your thoughts fixed on porn, and you imagine pornographic action. The tension in you grows until you later have your orgasm. If your inner movie director starts, you can apply a method that is called the thought-stopping technique. The thought-stopping technique is, in this context concerning the movie director, means that you should stop your picture starship by harshly stepping in. In the moment that your sexual fantasies start, you raise your arms, clap your hands, and stop. Shout! Sorry, no, and you shout stop. Yeah, you raise your hand, clap your hands, and shout stop, like this. No, so. Hey, wait a second. Are you telling me that I should behave like an idiot when I'm in the supermarket or in the office? No, of course not. First, you should start by practicing this tip at home. Second, you will be able to use it in public in a slightly modified way. Let us take it one step at a time. From a neurobiological point of view, all thoughts that you have, including the ones of the movie director, are processes between nerve cells. These nerve cells are neurotransmitters, that's what you call them, neurotransmitters, and they send impulses. We will go into detail about this later. If in that moment there is a sudden and unexpected clapping and shouting, something happens in the brain. It is like pigeons picking bread from the ground, and then suddenly someone claps their hands. The pigeons will immediately fly in all directions. They may come back later, but not as many and not as organized as before. The chemical and the neurobiological processes in your brain, they are disrupted because the clapping and shouting, they release adrenaline. Adrenaline prevails over everything else in the body. Historically, and as it is a substance for survival. In the course of tens of thousands of years, the body has learned to produce adrenaline in situations of danger. For example, when we were hunting and suddenly attacked by a wild animal. You produce adrenaline in a variety of situations, like, for example, at school, when the teacher unexpectedly asks you to come to the front of the classroom and solve a difficult math problem. Our organism learned that if something similar happens, everything else is less important and needs to wait. Now, this means that the chemical and neurological patterns that the movie director has set in your brain can be washed away by adrenaline. These patterns might come back in the same or in a similar way, but for the time being, you gained time, in the worst case scenario. Or you cast away the undesired erotic thoughts for a few hours or even for the rest of the day. Now, in the full program, in the Lavario program, you learn how to prevent these thoughts from coming in the first place. But here it's about stopping them if they happen. So please practice the thought-stopping technique now. Maybe stop the video and just clap a couple of times. But do it when you're alone. I mean, sit comfortably on a chair or on your couch and allow your picture starship to take off. First, think of something non-erotic. So what about your last holidays or work or something beautiful from your childhood, success story, your favorite football team, your favorite movie, and so on. And then close your eyes and enjoy the pictures. And then after 20 or 30 seconds, raise your arms, clap your hands and shout, "Stop." And then open your eyes. Concentrate immediately on the things that you see in that moment. This will not only dissolve the chemical patterns from before in your brain, but you also immediately offer a new pattern. For example, you might notice the window or the flowers on the table. Do not underestimate this step. It is very important. Practice this a few times and then do the same with an inner erotic movie. So this should not be difficult for you if you're porn addicted. But by the way, this also works in a similar fashion for food addicts or gambling addicts. You just imagine different things then. So do the same as before. Watch the movie, and then after 20 or 30 seconds, raise your arms, clap your hands, shout "stop," and notice intensely what you see in that second. Something that had been there before as well, but you did not concentrate on this. So do these exercises a couple of times, ideally with a few hours in between them, and learn how to distract yourself and direct your thoughts and your brain processes to something else in the moment of craving. If you can, ask somebody you trust to do this exercise with you. It's not vitally necessary, but it can increase the effectiveness of this exercise. Now, you might ask yourself, what? I should tell somebody about my porn problem? No, that is not what you should do. Create an excuse. For example, say that you read in a book that it is possible to increase the capability to concentrate by learning new ways to cope with distractions. You might want to continue explaining that in the book, a powerful distraction is someone next to you clapping his or her hands and shouting while you are thinking about something completely different. Let me also give you a tip that fits in here, that a Lavario user, somebody who used the whole program, that he wrote, I think it's a he, yeah, that he wrote to us about it. For me, this exercise has only been effective when I also used the camera of my cell phone. After clapping and shouting "stop," I took a photo of myself. Before, I was almost out of my mind, being extremely horny, and then I got back to my senses when I saw my face. Personally, I found 3 or 4 other quick tips more useful. The quick tips are the ones from the Lavario program. You don't know that now. But in the beginning, I was glad about every straw I could get. Later, the quick things were not so important anymore. But in the beginning, it really helped me to see my face and realize that it was me who was about to start this pornographic crap again. So I thought that would fit quite nicely into this video. So in practical terms, what does it mean? You close your eyes and let your picture starship take off. And of course, you do not tell your friends what you see. And your friend suddenly claps hands and shouts "stop." You do not know when exactly she or he will do it. So the shock effect is a bit stronger and more adrenaline is produced. What is important is that the body learns to produce adrenaline when the clapping and shouting happens. This is why it is so helpful to do it with a friend. There will be more adrenaline and the body will learn to adapt for situations when you are alone. Do this a couple of times and do it in a playful way. Perhaps your friend would also like to try it out. If you have children around, it is ideal because they like these kind of games and you will not be afraid to lose your face. As an alternative, you can also record your voice. Record for 10 minutes. Mostly say nothing, only loudly sharp stop from time to time. When you then listen to it while your starship is flying, the stops will have a surprising effect on you. So after having practicing this tip for a few times, you will be ready for real life. The next time that the craving arises, you apply the thought-stopping technique and see what happens. Be patient and try it several times. When you apply it the first time, the thoughts might disappear for only minutes and then return. Do it again in that case, and when they come back the second time, do it again, and so on. In this context, it is important to understand that the human brain is programmed to learn. If a certain action, in our case pornographic thoughts, continuously has an immediately negative consequence, meaning stress and adrenaline, the brain eventually learns that it is a better strategy to avoid that action in the future, to avoid pornographic thoughts in the future. It can take some time, however, until you reach this point. With some people, what did I write here? That last sentence, forget it, didn't make any sense. I'm mistaken here. So, with some people, the thought-stopping technique works very well. With others, there's a kind of getting used to it, and it loses its effectiveness after a while. You need to find this out for yourself. If you get used to it, you might want to combine this technique with one of the other tips, or you can modify that technique a little bit. We will come back to that later. So far, the described technique can work pretty well as long as you are alone, at home or in the car or wherever. But let's say you are in the office, in town, in a bar, in a shop, on the beach. Then what should you do? Now you essentially have three options. First, you can, as just proposed, use a voice tracing system or something else where you can record your own voice and then listen to the stop over your headphones. Second, and that's maybe better, take 1 or 2 minutes and get away from the people around you. You can do this by walking to the bathroom, for example, or to the park around the corner. And then you apply the thought-stopping technique in a light version. This means you do not shout, but just say it when you're in the bathroom at work. Make sure that you are alone. Yeah? There will not be as much adrenaline compared to when you're alone and shout it. But on the positive side, you distract your thoughts more if you have to concentrate and look for a quiet place whenever the craving starts, because that also needs attention. When you raise your arms in public, you can pretend, you can pretend that you have some tension in your shoulder, go like this, instead of just clapping and people look at you. Or you pretend you have problem in your neck or something, so you don't look like a fool. You might want to rub your shoulders. I think I showed you what I mean. The third option takes you back to the beginning. As you learned, you have a talent of quickly turning into a movie director. After practicing clapping your hands and shouting stop a couple of times, you can also imagine doing that, without actually having to do it. It will be as easy for you to imagine this as it is to picture your erotic adventures. Do not forget to direct your attention to whatever you see after having imagined shouting stop. Don't forget to then notice immediately what is around you, to distract your brain. In order to get a great feeling of satisfaction, you can further develop this technique. Every time you apply it, no matter whether you are alone and do it loud, or whether you are with people and are quiet, you should imagine seeing your movie director standing in front of you. Imagine what she or he might look like. See the disappointment in his or her face, and observe how the movie director packs his or her things and leaves, complaining, being grumpy. Imagine it as realistically as possible. Imagine this movie director as your opponent and that you have successfully chased away, that you have won the battle against. Use your fantasy, use your imagination. You are great at that, especially if you are a porn addict. It's one of your strengths. You might never have thought about it, and you can use it to your advantage. I think I stop here. You can read much more about the thought stopping technique on the internet if you like. I just applied it now to your situation and how you can use it, but it's extremely powerful. It takes some patience. You need to practice it a bit. And again, this is just one of many tips. So maybe join me for some other videos, or order our program. There are hundreds of pages there and many exercises where you apply all this, and there's a step-by-step program out of the addiction. And it's pretty successful. There's a money back guarantee anyway. So whatever you do, good luck, and thanks for your attention. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Bye bye.